It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This year, the only app you need at your Super Bowl party is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Download FanDuel now so you can bet Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. You'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/lockedon to claim your no-sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
The All-Star game is behind us, everybody, and it's time to get real serious about the second half. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. We're getting to waiver wires. We're back to the big-time bets. Welcome back from the mini break. Let's get this money.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are back, baby. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Big time Monday edition. We're looking to waiver wire. We're looking to some recent signings. Bo Horvat making that money. We're going to figure that out as well, Steele. And you know we got big time bets ready to go. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. We see and appreciate all that love. And we see and appreciate the love from FanDuel. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. Steele, I'm going off today because there is a lot going on in the NHL. Even though we were on pause, the NHL All-Star hiatus, I think you saw some of my tweets. I don't really love what they do over the NHL All-Star game. It could be a lot better. But it's time to get serious now because things are starting to fall into place. We'll talk very quickly about the Bo Horvat signing. It's waiver wire week 18 in the fantasy realm. We're creeping up on fantasy playoffs here, Steele, and big-time bets are back in a big way. It's a busy and very juicy betting week, and I'm excited for what the second half holds for you and I. Let's talk about Horvat.
Yeah.
Did you think this 8-year contract was coming? I think it was clear I did. What does this mean to you for the value of Horvat and the pieces around him in New York?
Yeah, you know what? I thought the contract was coming probably towards the end of the season or after the playoffs might have happened more in the off season, but I think they just wanted to lock this guy up. And you know, you just said to me right before we jumped on that this guy's going to be the next captain. It's probably down the line somewhere because he has that leadership quality, but they wanted to lock him up and know everyone that they're keeping him for a long-term deal here. You know, 8-year contract. We don't know what the money's at. If I had to guess, I'm probably assuming $8 to $8.5 million, probably what he was looking for with the Vancouver Canucks. He gets it with the New York Islanders, hopefully. But look, I love Horvat. He's an absolute stud, and I know people are out there talking about that the fantasy value might drop off a little bit. Yeah, it might drop off a little bit, but I see a ton of value, fantasy value for other players that he's playing with now, creeping up as well. Barzal, Anders Lee, Brock Nelson continue to dominate. Those are the type of guys that he's playing with too. And I really like Horvat. I don't think it's going to be as bad as people are saying. I think he's going to be that grit and that force that they need him to be offensively.
The fantasy impact is definitely a very intriguing angle to look at this, and that's the obvious one we're looking at. But down, like just straight up and down, Bo Horvat is a NHL gamer, and he just gets it done at all aspects of the rink, and that's a fact. This year, he's also 9th in the NHL at faceoffs won, faceoffs taken. He's at 56% on the dot. That's not something that necessarily always shows up on fantasy, impact, but it just goes to show you how good this player is, and I think we need to just see what he does here with the New York Islanders because they have the goaltender that I love to talk about. Sorokin is good enough to take this team on a little playoff heater. I'm very intrigued to see what happens with Bo Horvat, but the pieces around him right now, Steele, in my opinion, the value is going to go up a little bit because he's going to bring that fantasy edge that they didn't have before. We've covered this angle very much. You're tuning into today's episode to talk about Waiver Wire Monday. The next couple of weeks, Steele, in my opinion, and it's not a bold take, is going to make or break your season. And a part of that is staying healthy. A part of it is capitalizing on these waiver wire Monday targets. And over the next couple of weeks, making sure you're filling in any hole that you have. So I think this is a really good time to just strike on these targets. I'm looking at Filip Chytil. You mentioned him. I'm going to give you the credit and hat tip because you're spot on right about this player. And he's getting a lot of good top 6 looks in New York. And my second little caveat here before I even talk about the advantageous schedule they have, they're playing 4 games this week, Steele. If this team adds a top real good player like they're looking at in Patrick Kane or any of the players the Rangers are always in the mix for, some of these players' value are going to go up, and you're going to benefit huge by having them already. But even just this week, Steele, the Rangers play 4 games. Filip Chytil was playing very well before the break. 7 points in his last 5 games before the break. Filip Chytil, for me, lastly, owned at only 16% in ESPN, and I think only slightly more in Yahoo. Filip Chytil, you highlighted him for me this week, for sure, worth a look.
Well, you're showing me some love, so I got to show you some love as well.
Hey.
But yeah, look, Filip Chytil and Victor Olsson, 2 guys that I've talked about recently, 2 guys that have picked up in the fantasy leagues, and they've done wonders the last 2 weeks. So I appreciate that. I'm going to show some love back to you right now with a guy that I know you've talked frequently about, a little bit about, and you like picking him up every now and again. But Adam Henrique of the Anaheim Ducks. He has been good recently, rostered at 17% in both ESPN and Yahoo fantasy leagues. And what did you know? Right before the NHL All-Star break, the Anaheim Ducks catching a little heat right now. 3-game win streak, not bad at all. And you know with the Anaheim Ducks that they're going to be scoring or getting scored on a bunch of games. The number is going over a lot in the contest that they've been in. The last 10 of the last 11 games for the Anaheim Ducks have gone over the number. So it's high-scoring games. Henrique has 6 goals, 9 points in his last 8 games. So he's firing on the top line. And the Ducks rely heavily on Adam Henrique. He's on the top line with Troy Terry and Trevor Zegras. He's on the top power play unit. He's on the top penalty kill unit. He plays a ton. And the Anaheim Ducks have 4 games this week. A little bit of a tougher schedule. I think you're actually catching the Vegas Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars at a good time. Teams that have kind of slowed down a little bit. So 4 games this week: Dallas Stars, Chicago Blackhawks, Pittsburgh Penguins, and Vegas Golden Knights. So Adam Henrique is firing right now, and I think continue to take a look at him while he's hot right now.
The Ducks, like you said, playing decent hockey before. And what I wanted to get off the chest about this little stretch of games, betting-wise and just fantasy, coming back from the All-Star break is always tricky. You have to maneuver this next week or 2 with a grain of salt. And like I said, and I might sound like a broken record over the last couple of weeks, this is going to make or break your season, how you can navigate the next couple of weeks. So make sure you are tuned and tapped into every single episode. That means hammering that subscribe button, hit the notifications, make sure you're not missing a single tweet from the account. Go on Twitter, follow all of that, because Steele and I are breaking it all down this week. And it's clutch over the next, I'd even say, let's say 15 to 20 days, Steele. Yeah. It's going to make or break so many GM seasons. And that's why I have to look at the advantageous week-to-week schedules. This week, the Edmonton Oilers play the Red Wings, the Flyers, the Senators, and the Canadiens. 4 games this week, Steele. Yeah, they're all on the road, but those are 4 very weak teams, and the Oilers were 7-1-2 in their last 10. I'm looking at Stuart Skinner, and if you're not looking at Stuart Skinner and you don't like my take, that's okay. Then look to Jack Campbell, because either of the goalies in Edmonton, I think it will be Stuart Skinner, because even though he was dealing with personal, he had sickness, I think this is the guy who's played better this year and earns the run out. But even if you don't feel me, you can take a look at Jack Campbell as another good. Those 4 teams, Steele, are straight up and down bad. And yeah, say what you will about the Oilers' sometimes inability to play consistent. They usually come on strong in the second half. I'm going to explain why I like one of their defensemen as well as an option later in the show. Stuart Skinner or Jack Campbell, but I'm leaning Stuart Skinner. Oilers, very advantageous schedule over the next week.
All right, I'm excited to see who you mentioned for the defenseman you're leaning towards on the Edmonton Oilers, because honestly, like I was about ready to jump over the screen and start fighting you on this, but I do like the fact that you're mentioning the goalies, because those are pretty much the only two options that I was thinking about for the Edmonton Oilers.
Red Wings, Flyers, Sens, and Canadiens, though. That's where we have to look at this.
The only problem, I like the fact that you're mentioning the goalies, but if you're looking at someone on the offensive or blue line, I'm not sure about it, just because you don't get anything done besides Draisaitl, Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, and Connor McDavid. Obviously, those are the top guys right now. So I'm excited to see who you're mentioning for the blue line.
I appreciate
my next guy real quickly before we get into the break. Nick Schmaltz of the Arizona Coyotes. I'm talking about some of the two worst teams in the Western Conference right now, but he's played great of recently. 18% rostered on Yahoo, 38% on ESPN. He's been a clutch guy since joining back in the lineup since his injury. I picked him up. He's been great. 4 goals, 7 points in his last 4 games. Obviously, a hat trick being one of them on one night as well.
He's been good.
He's been great. 28 points in 34 games this season. The one thing I do want to put out there with Nick Schmaltz is he's not great on the power play. He hasn't been great on special teams this year. He only has 6 points on the power play. But you know that he can get it done 5-on-5. Him and Clayton Keller are able to get things done together 5-on-5 at even strength. And the Arizona Coyotes, they have 3 games this upcoming week: Minnesota Wild, Chicago Blackhawks, and the St. Louis Blues. Honestly, I don't think that's that bad of a schedule after this NHL All-Star break.
No, it isn't, but all of the schedules for all of these teams, like I said, it's going to be tricky. What's not tricky is today's episode is sponsored by Athletic Greens, AG1. Our partner, AG1 Athletic Greens, we started taking this every single day because it's good for you before or after the gym, and Steele and I love this stuff. And what is it? What is this stuff? It's one delicious scoop of AG1. You get 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system. It helps you recover and even age with grace. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, and it contains less than 1 gram of sugar per scoop, and it'll cost you less than $3 per day. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews online, and it's recommended by professional athletes around the world and trusted leading health experts such as Tim Ferriss and Michael Gervais. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition with just 1 scoop of AG1 in water every day. That's it. No need for a million different supplements or pills to look out for your health. Just like Steele and I and all of y'all out there, we're busy. We don't have time for all of those different pills and supplements. So to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 free year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. That is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
This is Dane Lewis from the Locked On Stars podcast, here to let you know the following message brought to you by Discover. Did you know that you could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection, the latest innovation from Discover? Discover will help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data, and they'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app and see terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. We are here Monday through Friday with the hot content. Mondays, of course, waiver wire targets. Make sure you hit the subscribe and the follow button. Flip and I appreciate all the love, all the support that our listeners show us every single day. So thank you for that. I've got 2 more guys on the list. Well, actually, I've got 2 guys on the list, as well as 2 honorable mentions I want to quickly talk about at the end. But I'll start us off with Mikael Backlund of the Calgary Flames. This is a guy that is very underrated, and I've picked him up. Sure. Very underrated. And I picked him up, I want to say 2 to 3 weeks ago, and he's been pretty good, and he's very steady for a very low-end depth guy. 7% rostered on ESPN, 16 on Yahoo. And I'll say this again, doesn't really do much on the power play because he's on the second unit. He does play a lot of penalty kill time. He has 2 shorthanded points. on the penalty kill, but he's got 29 points on the season, 5 points in his last 4 contests for the Calgary Flames. He shoots the puck a ton. He hits 155 shots, 56 hits. Flames have 3 games this week: Rangers, Red Wings, and the Buffalo Sabres. I like the Calgary Flames this week as well, and I really like Mikael Backlund, who can jump up and down from the third and second line.
Hey, he fills out a lot of peripheral categories, and the Calgary Flames are one of the teams that I have my eye on over the second half. What are their fantasy pieces really going to do and start to step up, or are they going to fade?
Yeah.
This team has been, on the bubble, and a lot of attention paid to it after everything that's happened from Johnny Gaudreau to Tkachuk to the bringing in of Huberdeau and Weegar and Nas and everything in between, Steele. I think this is a team that you have to pay attention to, because they're either going to be one that you have to sell your pieces off right away if you're trying to still hang in there for the top spots in your league, or you're going to maybe want to move for them because of how valuable they're going to be in this bounce back come up. But Mikael Backlund is he's a good dynasty keeper piece, Steele.
Yeah.
Because he's definitely going to be one of those guys that you can fill out the categories for. I'm going to stop talking about your pick and give you with one more. I got to talk about Anthony Beauvillier. Why not have a look at this guy before he gets potentially hot? Don't even roll the eyes yet, Steele. Because the only thing that this guy has been missing, aside from being disappointing with his opportunity in New York, and that's clear, is we've been calling for a change of scenery from time. And this is a guy that I personally had invested. So even if this is just for my own vindication, Steele, I'm going to jump on Anthony Beauvillier right now before he gets hot. And why not? If he's going to start getting some play with JT Miller and some mix in the top 6 in Vancouver. Also, Vancouver this week has 4 games. So definitely worth a look right now while he potentially gets the most run out. Anthony Beauvillier is also not owned at all because of how bad he's been. So he's going to be out there in your leagues. But still, I don't know, man. I think he has the potential. I know Kuzmenko's been great, but if Beauvillier can come in and make some noise, they don't care who plays with Besser and Pettersson, or with Pettersson most importantly, because Besser might be gone as well. I think this is a really sneaky opportunity to pounce on a guy who has underperformed for a long time now, but a change of scenery is what I've been calling for, so I'm going to stick to it. And Anthony Beauvillier, for me, especially with the 4 games this week, worth a look.
All right. You know what? The eye roll might have been a little preemptive there talking about Anthony Beauvillier. I will say this. Kudos to you. This might be the week to give him the shot because they have 4 games.
Let's see what he can do.
Look, change of scenery. Again, a guy who just has been so disappointing over the last couple of years. And again, change of scenery. Hopefully it all works out the best for him and he can find his game in the NHL. But again, like you said, probably this might be the good week to pick him up, give him a shot. If it doesn't work out, just drop him if that's something you're able to do with your fantasy team. I'm looking at one last guy on the blue line, and then I got 2 honorable mentions. I'm looking at Sam Girard of the Colorado Avalanche. Again, I think I've mentioned this to you once or twice before, that this is a guy that I see the Avalanche trading so they can, bolster and upgrade their top 6 forward group to, sort of facilitate that missing spot in the center position on the second line, or just facilitate somewhere in the top 6. But right now, Girard's playing great. 6 to 12% rostered on ESPN and Yahoo Fantasy Leagues. 4 points in his last 3 games. In his last 5 games, he's put up 9 shots. In his last 3 games, he's put up 9 shots and 15 blocks. And this could just be a really good time to pick up Girard, who's sort of filling out those peripheral stats. Like I said, 4 points in his last 3 games, sort of coming alive on the offensive side of things now as well. And the Avalanche have 3 games this upcoming week. They take on the Pittsburgh Penguins, Tampa Bay Lightning, and Florida Panthers. Very hard matchups, in my opinion. But again, we're talking about the Colorado Avalanche. They seem to get it done all the time. So could be a good spot to go up and pick a guy like Girard.
I think so. And, I've been having my eye on the Colorado Avalanche. I always say this, that's the thing I like to say is keep your eye on these situations. The Colorado Avalanche, to me, have played a lot better, and this is still without key players in the lineup, and they're starting to get healthy. They haven't had their team yet this season. I think they're still, and I mentioned the odds the other day. I obviously don't have the serious updated ones in front of me. They're still worth a look. They're such a dangerous team, Steele, and I think highlighting a guy like Girard, he doesn't, he's dealt with injuries as well. So some of those things is a part of what you have to do when you're playing this take a risk waiver wire situation. Love that look. I'm just going to finish it up with, I think the Edmonton Oilers, with all of those games on the road, yes, okay, but they're playing 4 really bad teams.
Yeah.
So if you need to fill in at any position, Brett Kulak, get Grizzly. Tyson Barrie's only out there at 74%. If it's a league that doesn't have Barrie rostered, grab Barrie for the week for sure. Darnell Nurse isn't going to be out there, but maybe his playing partner, Cody Ceci, might be. They are going to score a lot of goals this week, and I think if this team is as good as I think they are, they're going to capitalize big time on this schedule steal over the next few games because they know that division is tight. They are not running away with anything this year. They're going to have to fight for everything they get, and that's inclusive of the whole Western Conference overall and in the East. That might be a cop-out, but anyway, go out there and take your shots on the Dylan Holloways, the Derek Ryans of the world in deeper formats. And in less deep formats, go out there at the Brett Kulaks, Tyson Barries if you can. I just love this schedule for the Edmonton Oilers this week.
Look, I don't hate that. I don't hate the take at all if you're able to go out and get Cody Ceci.
Emergency fill-ins.
Emergency fill-ins.
I'm not saying drop anybody for these players.
Completely understand and agree with what you're saying. If they're out there and available, they've got 4 very, very advantageous matchups this upcoming week. So I respect it. I can't ignore it whatsoever. I've got 2 honorable mentions before we get to the big time bets. First of all, I want to talk about Cody Glass of the Nashville Predators. He's out there. He's out there in all leagues right now. Rostered at 2%.
My boy.
He's out there right now. He's playing on the top line with Philip Forsberg and Matt Duchene. He's got 3 goals and 5 points in his last 5 games. So his offensive ability is sort of blossoming right now over that last stretch of games. So hopefully he remains with those top guys, catch him while he's hot, and let's see if he can continue that after the break. Also a guy on the blue line, Torrey Krug of the St. Louis Blues, 46% rostered on ESPN, 61% on Yahoo, so maybe not as available on fantasy, but since he's come back from injury, he's got 4 points in 4 games. The peripheral stats are up as well. Overall, the peripheral stats are not great. Doesn't shoot the puck a ton, doesn't really hit or block a ton as well, but they've come alive over the last 4 games as well. And if the Blues really do want to make a hardcore push for the playoffs, he's going to need to be the guy on the blue line, quarterbacking them all the way to the finish line. So those are 2 guys on the honorable mentions. We are going to get to big time bets. I'm very excited to see how we start off the second half of the season after the NHL All-Star break and where you should place those bets. FanDuel. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. This year, the only app you need for your Super Bowl party is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And we are really excited here at Locked On about our new sports betting partner for the Locked On because they are the #1 sportsbook in America, FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make sports betting fun and easy to do. Download FanDuel now so you can bet on the Super Bowl 57 with no sweat first bet. You'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if that first bet doesn't win for you. And FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to the point spread and who will score a touchdown. I've got my money placed on the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. I know Flip is looking over at the Chiefs and Patty Mahomes. Maybe a little side bet action there for you guys. And the FanDuel Sportsbook app is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Best of all, you can get paid your winnings instantaneously. It's absolutely one of my favorite perks out there. Also, one of my favorite perks about FanDuel is right when you open the app, you're able to see popular same game parlays that hundreds of people across the world or across North America are betting on for those live game actions. So join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/lockedon to claim your no sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. That's right. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
I'm Kainani Stevens, host of Locked On Game to Game NHL. Join me as I take you inside every arena to every game and give you the Locked On local experts insight. By the end, it's as though you were at every game yourself. Find Locked On Game to Game NHL on the Locked On NHL feed and follow today. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. You know it. Flip and I appreciate all the love, all the support you guys show us. Make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. We're almost at 800 subscribers. Help us get there so we can make our way to 1,000. We appreciate all the love and support. Flip. We're back with it, baby. We're back with it. Big time bets where the money's made. Let's do it. Let's start this. Let's start this second half of the season off hot. I'll throw it over to you. Who are you looking at right now?
First of all, before I get to that, I just needed to show some love for your Cody Glass pick. I've been high on that player myself. We haven't talked about him because of his limited opportunity.
Yes.
Cody Glass, oddly enough, was my first professional interview covering the NHL. Got to speak to him at a NHL Top Rising Star Showcase. Guy's a big, graceful gazelle. He can skate. I think he's going to turn it on a little bit here, Steele. So much love for you for showing him some love. Now, the picks. We're back. Good start to you for the season. I think I need to do a lot better. So let's get back to basics here. Looking at this New York Islanders into Philly game, you might go, okay, Bo Horvat, good situation. They're pumped up. The team's investing in, the franchise is investing in the team on the ice with a big signing now of Horvat. They're going to be jazzed up, and it makes sense that they can turn a page on a so-so first half. I would be looking to them regardless. Now I look into the numbers, Steele. 9-1-0 in their last 10 into the barn in Arizona. They dominate the Coyotes, and maybe that's not a huge take because of how bad Arizona is, but I don't even care. I would have taken the Islanders anyway. Now you got this recent trends going your way as well. Love them. Minus 128.
Wait a minute, Flip. I think you might got the games. Do we have the games mixed up right now? I think the Islanders are taking on the Flyers.
Oh, my bad. What did I say?
You said the Coyotes.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm looking at the wrong stats. My bad. Hold on. Reel me back in here, Steele. Let me start that again.
I got you.
Let me start that again. But the head-to-head is still juicy. 8-2-0 for the Islanders against the Flyers. And I'm still taking the New York Islanders on the money line. So all of that hype, my bad. The stats are still the same.
The hype's here, baby. The hype's here.
Islanders with Bo Horvat signed, it's huge. The Islanders on the road are a decent team, and they're playing Philadelphia, who are not good. And the stats, even though I was wrong with the head-to-head, they're 8-2-0 in their last 10 trips to Philly, and they played really good against the Flyers. My bad for going off on the wrong numbers. Islanders, money line, minus 128. All of those are my number one pick. Thanks for holding me down, by the way. Holy, we almost got off the rails.
I got you, Flip. Don't worry. And I am on the same page with you. I am also taking the New York Islanders on the money line against the Philadelphia Flyers. Like you said, we're coming back from a little bit of a short break here. We're going to keep it easy to start off.
It's a tough pot to bet.
It is a tough one. I'm also going to take the Islanders on the money line against the Philadelphia Flyers. My second pick, again, taking it easy. I could go with the over here in this situation because it's usually a high-scoring game. But just to play it easy again, I'm going to parlay all three of these picks. I'm taking the Stars on the money line against the Anaheim Ducks. I think it's the easy bet to go with for Monday's schedule. Stars against the Ducks. A nice break for those top guys, Robertson, Rupe Hintz, Joe Pavelski, Miro Heiskanen. So, and obviously Jake Oettinger as well. I expected a little bit of a high-scoring game, but nonetheless in the Stars' favor, Stars money line.
Yeah, and this is why I was getting confused, and I'll get to my lock right away so we can kind of carry over some of what I was rambling on about. Minnesota on the money line, 9-1-0 in their last 10 against Arizona. That's where I was getting confused, people. My bad, because both the Islanders and the Wild are two of my favorite bets tonight because of how they were playing and heading, for multiple different reasons. I'll just leave it at that. But that is my actual lock of the night, Steele. And you're going to like my third pick of the night very quickly. By the way, Minnesota on the money line, minus 220. You might want to parlay that along with some other picks. But to me, if you have some money in the tank and you're getting a little frisky, to me, a puck line bet here for the Minnesota Wild on the road here. Good look. I like Jason Robertson to continue his hot first half, Steele, and it's going to go good for your Dallas Stars pick. Give me the Jason Robertson anytime goal. He has been so good this season. He's going to get his against an Anaheim team that allows a lot of shots on net, allows a lot of goals overall, and is not good in the defensive end. That's my third pick, and let me just repeat all three since I've been all over the map. New York Islanders at the Flyers on the money line. Anaheim at Dallas. Give me Jason Robertson anytime goal. And my lock of the night, Minnesota on the money line into Arizona.
We are on the same page, my friend. We both have the Islanders on the money line. I also have the Wild on the money line for my lock of the night, 2 of the 3 bets. And then ours kind of go hand in hand with each other.
Yep.
I've got the Stars on the money line. You've got Robertson, anytime goal. I love all of our picks for Monday night. Let's start it off hot. Second half of the season. Make this money. Hopefully you guys make some money out there as well. Those are the 3 picks with the lock of the night. And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Remember, we are available Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time. You don't want to miss out. Available on your favorite podcast platforms and YouTube. So hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. And thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.
Hey, Prime members, you can listen to this Locked On podcast ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app today.
Hi, this is Walker Mayo, one of the local hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Instead of hearing me right now, we could be talking about your business and helping you reach local, passionate sports fans just like yourself. Unlike any other podcast, Locked On gives your local company the unique ability to reach local podcast listeners. If your business wants to connect with local sports fans that are well-educated with disposable income, then let's put your company right here on this Locked On podcast. Local fans love to support local businesses. Text the word advertising to 33777 or visit lockedonpodcast.com/advertising and let us know who you are. Our team will assist you to achieve advertising success with Locked On. Once again, text the word advertising to 33777 or visit lockedonpodcast.com/advertising. We look forward to hearing from you.
Did you watch every NHL game last night? Of course not. That's impossible. So Locked On brings you Locked On Game to Game NHL. With Locked On Game to Game NHL, we take you inside every arena to every game and give you the Locked On local experts insight. And by the end, it's as though you were at every game. Find Locked On Game to Game NHL on the Locked On NHL feed and follow today. Locked On Game to Game NHL, taking you to every arena for every game with the local experts. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.